Hi people, it's Chris in Arena Recording Studio with another quick tip, another quick guitar, hopefully tip that's going to improve your level of progress as you make this journey of musicianship while playing your guitar-y things. Okay, so today this is something I watch quite a lot with the students that come in. And if you watch any of these videos, you know that I talk about all sorts of stuff with guitars, from technique to speed to rock to little riffs and tracks and things like that. So please give the channel a like and a subscribe, because it may be something on there that might be of use to you. Okay, so today we're going to look at when we strum, we use one technique, and then when we do other things on guitars, we change technique without us knowing about it. So I'm going to just pick something really simple to demonstrate this today and see how this has an impact on the things that you're learning and the things that you're hoping to learn to play as a guitar student or an intermediate player. You may not even have noticed this kind of thing happen. So you may wonder why I'm kind of sitting away a little bit. Well, I want you to be able to see the forearm and guns, and then no guns, and then the technique that happens. Okay, so I'm just going to play. So look at the forearm. So we've got a nice relaxed strumming action going on there, really relaxed, nice floppy wrist. Okay, now when we then, 90% of the time, if you're in a band, say for an example, and you're playing some songs and you're on stage and you're rocking out and whatever it is that you're working on in the band, then you suddenly come to play your lead solo, everything changes. We go from to this, where this forearm should be planted or relatively. So see the difference, how I've gone now from strumming with elbow and a floating forearm to actually then picking from the wrist. Now that's something that you should sort of analyse a lot when you're learning, because these are two completely different sets of muscles that come into play. So you won't be, unless that's the technique that you're after, really severely muted kind of strumming technique. But ideally, when we strum, it's going from the elbow with a little bit of rotation going on. When we're picking, we're planted, and then we've still got a little bit of rotation, but it's kind of moving from the wrist area. So those are two completely sets of muscles, like I say, that you're bringing into play when you're kind of going from one technique to the other. So ideally, you should focus on making sure that you are very aware of this. It's like when I see guys that go into sort of finger picking, they'll anchor the little finger and they'll just be picking gradually, because that finger keeps this consistent. So that looks kind of in between this picking, this strumming, and then you kind of half resting on there when you're. Now for finger picking, as you can see there, what we've got is these are just doing all the movements. Everything else tends to be kind of locked in place. So there's varying degrees of movement throughout shoulder, chest muscles, arms, all this kind of stuff comes into play. If you're aware of this, when you're going to kind of play anything from sort of to then lead, you need to be very aware that you're going to, if you're going to keep, I then see guys that are starting to learn scales and then they're trying to keep this same technique from here, and then they're going, which creates all this variance in vertical movement away from the strings. So again, when you're going into a small, precise movement, go with a small set of muscles that's going to bring it into play, which is going to be just your forearm and your wrist. So remember that those are two completely different physical requirements that you're trying to work on. So don't try and strum and pick with the same forearm technique. It's not going to happen. And again, like I just said a couple of minutes ago, Finger picking is a completely different technique again. So it's a different placement with this forearm. This is so overlooked with lots of students. When I point this out to them, they actually just get this planted on the guitar, and the palm of the hand maybe on the bridge or the saddles, then you'll find that you've got this control. And it makes a huge difference because, again, it's two different techniques. So think about what technique it is, what you're trying to play. Is it a scale, a pattern, is it a lead solo? Whatever it is, you need to be planted. If it's a rhythmic, you don't need to be planted because you're hoping to get that nice, flexible, relaxed strumming pattern. Just a couple of little ideas to think about there. As always, give the channel a like and a subscribe because it makes my day. And I'm going to try and keep the content coming for you. And again, if you've got any questions about any of this, just leave a comment below and I'll do my best to get back to you as quick as is possible. Even though I'm a very busy man at this point in time. Well, it seems to be always, really. So I'd just like to say, as always, stay safe, stay well, and keep on rocking in the free world.